Senate district. It's not in any state rep seat. That would be an effort to try to get Republicans to vote for it?
No, not necessarily. I think they did their work to identify what we'll term as the choke points, where the traffic really does get jammed up and it takes a great deal of time to get through it. It's about alleviating those, and if they happen to fall in the districts, that's where they fall. But it's data-based. It's not just guessing where we should do it. It's really looking at where the choke points are, where the majority of our residents are wasting their time sitting in traffic day in and day out.
And what are the prospects of a special session before the end of the year?
My predictions are always terrible,
Yeah.
But I would come in as soon as possible to get this done. The longer we wait, the more risk we are at not getting the necessary federal funding. The more we wait, the longer we risk of an accident or a tragedy happening. And the longer we wait, our economy continues to suffer because people can't move their employees or their products throughout the state efficiently.
Is there an alternative? Is there an alternative to tolling at these 14 choke points?
There's always an alternative, but it's sat around for almost 30 plus years here in the General Assembly with no answer other than to just put Band-Aids on major problems that the state's facing.
So you're saying there's really no other solution that doesn't include tolls?
We tried them all. We'll continue to try, but we can't borrow our way out of this problem. We can't just do it on the backs of future taxpayers. We need to stop doing that. That's how we've gotten into a lot of this trouble.
Would the toll revenue generated on the bridges be only spent on bridge projects?
So according to the Federal Highway Act, you can only toll and collect on roads that you plan to spend the money on. So it's an interesting, combination of ideas. We have the tolling, we have the loans from the federal government, and then we have our current sources, all of which would go to the three major areas: trains, obviously transportation, and the highways and the bridges, but also we need to improve our buses too throughout the state.
Roland, can you confirm the amounts of the tolls?
Susan, can you back up at all?
On the 14 bridges that are included in this latest proposal that could be amended?
We've looked at tolling on the 14 bridges that has been reported in the news today. We've looked across the state, across the country. What is a reasonable amount for our residents to pay to get the Gold Star Bridge in London back online? That's a $350 million project. There are projects across our state that are in the billions of dollars. So we think it's appropriate to have out-of-state folks paying some of the costs. They're coming through. They're the ones creating a lot of the damage on our roadways. But we think it should be a lot lower for Connecticut residents. So we're talking about those deep in-state discounts for Connecticut residents. You have a Connecticut Easy Pass. Let's cap you. 50 cents, $1. That seems pretty reasonable to most of our members. And whether you're a Republican or a Democrat, you're in Eastern Connecticut or on the shoreline, you're stuck in traffic or you're stuck in trains. Connecticut is stuck. And if you're a small business or a big business, you want to unlock our economic potential by investing in transit.
So 50 cents or $1 to cross one way on the Gold Star Bridge seems reasonable to a lot of your members.
Well, I don't think that's what he said. I think he said the rates the governor will roll out, but if you were to keep it under that, it seems reasonable, but we have to look at it overall as a comprehensive package. It may be even lower. What if I said it was only 50 cents a day for as many times as you cross it for those plumbers and others? That would be a great idea. I don't know if that's where we eventually land, but that's an initial starting point.
Is it 14 tolling locations or is it 14 tolling projects?
You'd have to ask the administration. With that amount of clarity, I could not answer that question.
Tell us a little further. Sorry.
Is there an income tax break component of this plan? That was something that the administration floated publicly last time.
That hasn't been discussed in the early conversations we've had.
That's not part of this.
You'll have to wait till the governor's rollout tomorrow. I will say that information has not been provided to us in the early discussions.
But the idea that local contractors going back and forth between Groton and New London would only pay toll once?
That was an argument that came up in the initial discussions this past legislative session, and I know our members voiced in caucus and publicly that can't we just cap it? So no matter how many times you pass over it, it's just whatever the dollar amount would be. And that's something I think the administration took seriously, and I'm hoping to see it in their rollout tomorrow.
Yeah, well, they did that in Rhode Island with the bridge to Newport because so many people go there just to work for the day.
Yeah.
Is there something in the plan where in-state residents only pay one way and out-of-state pay round trip. Is that correct?
I think consistent with the other states, what you do is have your in-state resident discounts, and we would want that to be a part of the plan.
And also with Rhode Island, while they have tolls in place, trucks only for specific bridge projects, when that bridge project is done, that money then goes to other projects. The tolls don't go away. Would that happen here in Connecticut?
You'd have to check with the administration. We haven't dug that deep. We're really looking at it, and I know it's hard to say, but it's the sky view down that we have these projects. These are where the choke points are, and the details you'll have to wait for them to roll out tomorrow.
Politically,
given
can
a
you sell
list?
this? Can you sell this plan to your members?
Could have sold the old plan, but I want to do a plan moving forward. And I think my caucus is very understanding of where we are right now with our transportation crisis and how our economy is suffering because we haven't addressed it. So the exact plan, we'll wait till it's finally done. As Mark said, that when the macaroni's cooked, then we'll have a discussion of how many votes we have.
Do you think this is
saying-
a better plan
Yes.
than the first one?
Well, in some areas, I think it's more respectful to the concerns that we heard throughout the legislative session.
It could pass with.
I looked at Roland earlier today, and I said, I liked your plan better. He is my chair, so I have to have his back.
It could pass with all Democrat votes.
I hope not. How in the world is a Republican member from Fairfield County going to justify voting no to shaving anywhere from 10 to 20 minutes off the commute into the city via train? How are they going to say no to putting 5G on the train so when I take my seat to commute into work, I can start working immediately? How are they going to say no to when our businesses are screaming and yelling they can't move their people or products from one edge of the state to the other without these long delays? It's great to pick out political positions, but we're not elected to pick political positions. We're here to lead, and sometimes it's hard, and the sooner people get an understanding of that, the better off we'll be as a state.
So what are some of the sticking points? You said it still has to be tweaked. What are some of the sticking points?
Well, I don't know that they're sticking points. We're still waiting for additional information from the administration. It's been a general discussion. Again, the 20,000 foot view down, it necessarily we haven't gotten into the weeds yet. That will be part of the process, and there will be some sort of public hearing, I imagine. Groups will be coming out in support and opposition. We'll get more information that way, and then we'll know.
Is it fair to say that this proposal is sort of a scaled down version of what you were hoping to accomplish in terms of the amount of projects, the scope?
No, I think it's more comprehensive, actually. When you look at the projects, it's not a general, we need to fix 95. It's very specific. And the data will be there to show why that needs to be done. Also, with the hard work that was done by the administration over the summertime, going down, talking to the federal authorities, we have other ideas. It's not just borrowing and us paying ourselves back or the tolls paying it back. It's the federal government being equal partners to that. And if President Trump ever moves forward with the infrastructure improvements that he wants, we're going to be first in line. We're going to be up and running, and our plan is going to be fully vetted and improved by the federal government.
And it will involve that borrowing program that you guys learned about at DOT?
Yeah, and I don't know that much about the program. Roland may know a little bit more about it, but the administration's already put that out there.
Well, tell us a little bit more.
The Build for America program is a federal program that allows us to access capital at greatly reduced prices with more flexible loan repayment terms. It allows us to get in the ground almost immediately. And we have a great opportunity now as they've reconfigured their program at the federal level. The state of Connecticut is now an attractive place for them to make that type of investment, and that's why we're having these conversations. Like, we can reprogram some of what we were thinking to conform with the federal requirements, and it's really exciting. I think the Build for America program is a good addition to how we think through our transportation investment.
Well, how do these contracts
What about
work?
revenue estimates? Did you get any revenue estimates? The last tolling plan was supposed to, when it was up and running, net $800 million. If you're not going to do 50, then what's the revenue estimate?
I think they'll have those tomorrow.
Have they provided them to you?
No, well, I don't know that anybody specifically asked for them. We're allowing them to do their presentation. And we also understand that this is the administration's project that they've been working on for almost 4 months. They haven't launched it publicly yet, which I'm told they'll do tomorrow. We need to give them a little bit of the pride of ownership and let them get out there and message it and talk about it before we start leaking information.
Ask about estimates about how much
We're not, Paul. We're not voting on it tomorrow. They've come to us with an initial idea.
It would seem to me that would be one of the first questions on my mind if I was getting a briefing. Hey, how much is this How much do you think this could raise?
It's not mine. Mine is how are we going to improve our economy? How are we going to improve the safety of our bridge and roads throughout the state of Connecticut? And if the plan does that, I'm all in.
And how do you get 76 votes?
We'll figure that out when the plan's done.
Were you given a list of the 14 bridges? Were you given a list of the 14 spots? And B, if you weren't, how flexible is that? In other words, you guys come back and say, wait, we don't want these 3. We're moving this around, and now we've got 16 spots.
I would strongly suggest to my members and other members not to necessarily do that. From what we've been told, that it is purely data driven, that the choke points, the areas that need the improvement are either A, failing, or B, just not constructed in a way that allows easy movement of the cars, and that's where the choke points are. So I don't know that it's a menu, and I would suggest folks not treat it like a menu to where, oh, we don't like that project, we want this project. Connecticut's a small state. We're not as small as Rhode Island, but if you start taking projects off the list, you may alleviate 2 of the choke points, but you're leaving the third. It's just going to continue the problem.
Now, the $21 billion, is there an amount for how much money would be borrowed under this federal program?
I think you'll have to wait for the administration. We did not dig that far into the weeds on that. That's probably a question for Secretary McCall.
And nor the revenue being brought in by the tolls? There's no specific on those 14 tolls?
They probably have it. Again, a little pride of ownership here. Let's let them roll it out tomorrow and have the discussions of what the numbers are.
And what the guarantee would there be to the public? I mean, there's this contract with the feds that you have to take the tolls off. But why couldn't a subsequent legislature say, well, yeah, we're not going to do that?
Yeah, I know that concern was raised to the administration. They feel comfortable with how they're going to structure this to alleviate that. That's probably a question for them.
How are the talks gone? Have they been bipartisan? Have they been to the table?
Yeah, I know other leaders have been in there. I know Senator Fasano and the Republican caucus were briefed last week. I know the administration is not trying to make this a partisan issue, that it's really a Move a Connecticut Forward proposal, and they've been acting as such. So I'm hoping everybody engages in it.
How crucial is it that you get this done before this regular session? Are you trying to avoid that?
I don't know necessarily avoiding it. If we end up there, we end up there. I think this is a problem that the chairman of the Transportation Committee and I both believe is sorely needed immediately. The sooner we can get these projects up and running, the better off the state will be.
But if you go into another regular session, it's just going to be...
We all know what those are like, right? It makes it difficult.
So you're optimistic it could be done in a special session, but it is a challenge.
It is a challenge, and I'm optimistic, but understand my predictions are usually not worth the paper they're written on.
Speaking of that, on Christine's question, you kind of said that you could have had the votes last time. She asked you about that. So are you saying you definitely will have the votes this time? I wasn't clear on what you said.
I would never want to insult the intelligence of my caucus, just as I ask other leaders to pause and at least weigh it out and carefully consider it, that I need to do the same for my caucus. I know the plan that the chairman of the Transportation Committee worked very hard on last time. He helped garner the support needed for passage. This is a whole separate bill. It's a new idea. We need to caucus it. We need to answer the questions that are out there, and the administration has to put the additional information out there. Again, it's a very high-level discussion right now.
So if you could have had the votes last time, why didn't you move forward?
Because it needs 3 things to happen for a bill to become law. It passes the House, passes the Senate, and gets a signature. We are lacking in some of those areas, so why go through the process?
You don't know where it would start first, would you? At this point.
That's the way.
way out.
Are you going to wait and do this with the hospital agreement, or is that like another...
Not necessarily. Not necessarily. So, all right? Yep. All right.